the surge was more powerful, and there were homes that didn't get damaged even very much in Idalia that are now totally destroyed. There are businesses that weathered Idalia, and now those businesses are gone. So there's a lot of work to do, and I'm going to outline some of the things we are doing. We've got a lot of people with us here today. I don't know if Congresswoman Kat Tamak is here, but I know, are you here? Oh, good, she's here. We also have all these agency heads. So your state government, when we do hurricane prep and response, it's a whole of government approach. We don't just have one agency that handles it all, because we have all the other agencies leverage their expertise to help in the relief effort. And you'll see that, you see that here with everything set up, but you'll see it more from what we're going to announce today. So we have our Agency for Persons with Disabilities Director Taylor Hatch, Department of Business and Professional Regulation Secretary Melanie Griffin, Department of Education Commissioner Manny Diaz, Commerce Secretary Alex Kelly, Highway Safety Motor Vehicles Executive Director Dave Kerner, Department of Children and Family Secretary Siobhan Harris, Secretary of the Florida Department of Corrections Ricky Dixon, Florida Insurance Commissioner Michael Yaworski, Department of Juvenile Justice Secretary Eric Hall, and Major General John Haas, Florida National Guard. So we are here now. We're still less than a week out from when the storm hit. Very quickly after the storm, our rescue mission concluded rapidly. The rescue efforts were made. They were successful. You had the Sheriff's Department here. We have Sheriff's Departments around the state, police, and then all the state agencies, National Guard, State Guard, Highway Patrol, Fish and Wildlife, you name it, they were all on target. Because that mission has been completed, I have sent rescue operations and rescue assets to Western North Carolina to help with that. It's a very dicey situation there. We want to be able to get people to safety. We have points of distribution that are in impacted areas. We do have sites in Dixie County, Taylor County, surrounding counties. Fortunately, we've been able to collapse some of those pods in areas like Leon where the demand wasn't high. And I think you're going to see more of those pods retrench in the coming days because, thankfully, we've got stores open in most parts of the state just like it was before. So the need for the pods is declined. The places where there's still a need, we're going to do. And you have pods, we'll distribute things like food, water, and other items residents may need. You can get up-to-date locations on points of distribution by going to floridadisaster.org/updates. Power restoration. We've now, since the storm, had power restored to 2.35 million customers. There are now 49,000 that are still outstanding. Now, of those, we got about 11,000 from Duke Energy and about 36,000 from the electrical co-ops, 1,200 from the munis. There are some areas that cannot maybe receive power, some places where there was a lot of flooding that the power lines are working. It's just a question of, do you turn it on, and that could lead to fire. So there's select areas where that is being done. You got fire, you've got a lot of people there that are checking to make sure it's safe to receive power. And then the bulk of the outages, these 49,000, are in the more rural areas, and some the transmissions were down. Some need a rebuild. And so if you have to rebuild it, that's different than reconnecting it. So all that's being done. But I do have word there's going to be a lot more of this is going to be reconnected even in the rural areas by tomorrow afternoon. So that'll basically be a week hitting a Category 4 hurricane and uprooting a lot of this, and then to be back on. And, of course, most Floridians were back on within 24 or 48 hours who lost power. So that was a very good job by our linemen and by all these different outfits to be able to take the power restoration very seriously and to get it done very quickly. We've had relatively modest damage to Florida roadways and bridges. The ones that we had, such in Tampa Bay, that was remedied very quickly. We had a long stretch along the beach in Sarasota, Bradenton, SR 789 Gulf Drive, and you had damage to the roadway. You had 5 feet of sand that got swept up in the storm surge. It was not passable. On Saturday, we were out there. We had negotiated an emergency repair. As soon as the storm passed and we saw the damage, I said, guys, we've got to get this done quick. Some people were saying that it was going to take a month or many weeks. We said that's not acceptable. They had a 5-day time horizon. I said, that's fine, but you got to do it quicker. And so we were happy to have, within 24 hours, restored access to the Longboat Key section of Gulf Drive. And then last night I was able to announce that it took about 48 hours to complete all 16 miles of the roadway. It's been cleared, it's been restored, the temporary emergency repairs have been completed, and so now, as of this morning, that is open for business for the residents and the businesses there. So we appreciate Florida Department of Transportation doing that very quickly. That's certainly not the norm around the rest of the country. Now, since the storm has hit, the state of Florida has responded to requests from Dixie County for a number of items. A temporary Verizon cell tower, 18,000 boxes of water, 15,000 MREs, 3,700 tarps, 11 generators, 2 cargo containers, and we are currently mobilizing missions to Dixie to provide an additional 36,000 boxes of water and 30,000 MREs. We're also mobilizing a tent for 100 first responders with AC, power, bathrooms, and wraparound support services. We have a mobile medical station here with comfort items. One's right there. You can go in and get treated, and they have treated people. Full service comfort station is coming to Cross City and Swanee City to support the community, including 12 or more stall shower trailer, 12 or more stall restroom trailer, and 12 or more stall laundry trailer. So those are mobile services, and some of it is the residents are going to need it if they lost their home and they're in temporary shelter, but also the workers and people that are here. They're going to be in camps. They're going to be doing things. You know, parts of the state, you can just throw everyone in a hotel. You can't necessarily do that along the Big Bend coast because there just aren't as many hotels available. Temporary accommodations have been are being provided at Fire Station 71 in Swanee for Horseshoe Beach and Swanee residents. So this will be sleeping arrangements and access to toilet and shower facilities at the station. And again, this is for residents who were displaced by the hurricane damage. Now we're here today to show support for Horseshoe Beach. We obviously have seen extraordinary difficulties over the last 13 months. We've seen people lose homes. We've seen major damage inflicted on homes as well as on businesses. And so the state, in response to that, has set up a multi-agency resource center, MARC, here in your community. Want to bring the help right to the front door. So this MARC, we call it, behind me, is staffed with liaisons from all these agencies that can bring resources to bear. Division of Emergency Management is providing AC services as well as water, ice, footwear, gloves, shovels, hammers, crowbars, fans, and Home Depot kits. Agency for Persons with Disabilities, services who need special assistance because of disabilities. Department of Children and Family, crisis counselors, food, water, baby items. Department of Business and Professional Regulation, resources for business owners and citizens who are in the process of hiring contractors. And we announced yesterday when we were in Taylor County, if you have a restaurant destroyed, they want to set up a mobile truck. That is approved by me, so do it. And we're doing an executive order to be able to make that happen. We don't want bureaucracy standing in the way. People are in, this is a real trying time, and we basically need to tell people, yeah, do it. Get back on your feet and start providing your service to the community and making a living. Department of Elder Affairs, support for elderly. Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicle, all the DMV services right here. Department of Education, training resources for those who lost jobs and help with reemployment. Florida Office of Insurance Regulation assists impacted home and auto owners in filing insurance claims. Florida Commerce, emergency bridge loans for businesses as well as other small business services. And I was talking to some of the folks here in Horseshoe, $50,000 bridge loan, no interest, very flexible repayment options. So if you need an infusion of cash, we want you to take that money, and we'll worry about the repayment later. I'm also pleased to announce Hope, Florida has an Activate Hope location with Hope Navigators on site here in Horseshoe Beach. And Activate Hope in Hope, Florida is your best way to be connected to all the private sector resources that are out there. Whether it's charitable organizations, businesses, you name it, that's where you want to go for that. We also have Publix on site today. They're donating ice, water, and snacks. Additionally, Operation Barbecue, we're going to go over there in a minute. They're doing free hot meals for residents here and the workers who are helping with storm response. And then lastly, at my direction, the Florida Division of Emergency Management is allocating temporary housing trailers to be brought to this region for those who no longer have housing. We're currently filling 35 applications for temporary trailer homes in this area, and we have more than 35 available. So we want to be able to have people be able to set up shop as close to their home as possible to be able to continue with their repairs or their rebuilding and not have to be, very far away when they're doing that. So you can make that application for a temporary trailer through Hope, Florida. We've cleared all the roadways. We've done all the bridge inspections. I want to thank the Florida Department of Transportation for what they've been able to do with that situation. As I mentioned in what we're doing for Dixie, but it's beyond all the affected areas. We are working with the local emergency management agencies at the county level to provide this temporary sheltering. And so that'll be, you'll be able to have shower, you'll be able to have AC, all the things that are going to just let you get by on a temporary basis. And so we're doing that in Dixie. We're working and doing that in other areas as well. Trailers, it's not just for Dixie. All the folks that have been affected, you can apply for a temporary trailer. If you apply through Hope, Florida, you can call the Hope line, 1-833-GET-HOPE, 1-833-GET-HOPE. We now have either Hope buses or Activate Hope sites in Dixie, Taylor, and Pinellas counties for today at the following location: Bridgepoint Church in Pinellas until 1 o'clock, St. Petersburg, Horseshoe Beach here till 7, Taylor at the Bird Rack Restaurant in Perry until 4 o'clock. We have been approved for individual assistance in all the major counties that have been affected by Hurricane Helene, and we're thankful for that. If you want to give charitably to help the storm victims, we have the Florida Disaster Fund activated, floridadisasterfund.org. These are tax-deductible donations, and it can be used for a variety of ways. I mean, we used it after Ian to help teachers, to help cops, to help veterans, to help with home repair, you name it. Very flexible, and all of it goes to help storm victims. Because we had a very efficient search and rescue effort, a robust effort, once the storm passed, we saw how Helene had made major impacts far inland and many states, not just the state of Florida, particularly in the mountainous areas of western North Carolina. So we activated and stood up Operation Blue Ridge. That is helping recovery and rescue assistance to the folks in western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee. We have Florida Division of Emergency Management, our Florida State Guard, Florida National Guard, Transportation, Fish and Wildlife, all on site. This morning, we sent a convoy from Florida Department of Transportation to deploy to North Carolina, including temporary bridges to be able to erect those if necessary and assist in roadway repairs. So we've got 7,500 feet of temporary bridges that are going to be en route. And if people that have been in that part of the country know, it's difficult. The roads are not easy, and in a normal day, Now you've got a lot of damage. A lot of the bridges are out. So we've already been making a difference. Just yesterday, a joint Florida State Guard and Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission team rescued a mother and her 1-year-old infant and evacuated them safely to the hospital. And over the last 24 hours alone, the Florida National Guard's Chinook assets have brought in 20,000 pounds of food into areas of critical need in North Carolina. The operation's also assisting Floridians seeking rescue in western North Carolina and in the surrounding areas. And if you want to fill out a request form, you can go to floridadisaster.org/Operation Blue Ridge. We, a lot of Floridians go up there over the summer. Most leave by the time we get to September. And so we've talked with a lot of folks who left before Labor Day. If this had happened in mid-August, there would have been way more. But there are some there, and we've been providing help. People want to get out. We want to get you out of there. So we appreciate everybody that's been working hard. This is definitely going to be a really serious effort to help get these communities back on their feet. As you see behind us with what we've done today, right here in Horseshoe Beach, all the state assets that we have available are being brought to bear to be able to help folks with their recovery. Okay, we'll now hear from the Congresswoman for Florida's 3rd District, Kat Cammack.
Thank you, Governor.
Yep.
Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. I can't express enough gratitude and thanks for our state partners, the governor for your leadership, for our local officials, Sheriff Darby Butler, who's here with us today, and all of his team who have been boots on the ground before, during, and now after the storm. There is a tremendous amount of work that is going to go into getting these communities back on their feet, and sometimes it's easy to get lost in the logistics of everything that's happening. But as we stand here where the Horseshoe Beach Marina once was, I want to put a little bit of context to where you guys are currently standing at. Over here you see what remains of a marina that Miss Lois and Mr. Dennis built, and it had only been open 2.5 weeks after repairing from Hurricane Idalia and Tropical Storm Debbie. 2 weeks that this was open before Hurricane Helene came in and destroyed everything, including their home. There are so many residents here in Horseshoe Beach as their primary home that no longer have a place to call home. And so it's pretty tough when we're talking about all the logistics, all the moving parts, that sometimes the humanity element gets lost. So many people lost so much, and I can't thank our federal, state, local partners and nonprofit partners enough for the work that they're doing. I have to tell you, nobody does the recovery better than Governor DeSantis and the state of Florida. It was less than 24 hours ago that I put a bug in their ear that we needed 35 homes in Horseshoe Beach. And you just heard the governor announce they have 35 homes on the way here to Horseshoe. That is impressive. I also want to point out that the agricultural losses that our area is going to sustain will be over $1 billion. We have now seen 3 storms in 13 months, and it has been a frustrating process to get relief from USDA. Through the last couple of days, we've been on the phone with the Undersecretary of USDA asking for a strike team that we never saw during Ian, Irma, Debbie, or Idalia. Today, I'm proud to announce that there is a strike team en route to Florida that will help with our agricultural producers who got so hurt in this particular incident. The governor also made a request in his initial declaration to include Hamilton, Gilchrist, Suwannee, and Columbia County. At this point, they are not covered for Category A or individual assistance, so as a result, this morning we sent a letter to the President of the United States asking him to amend his declaration to include those communities that were also devastated in Hurricane Helene. And so it is our plea and our ask that the President amend that declaration so that folks in this region can get the help that they need. Again, I can't stress enough how impressive the recovery efforts have been to date, but there's a long way to go. And so folks need to understand that this is going to be more than just a week here on the ground. Boots on the ground are going to be required for a very long time. So thank you to all of our first responders, to the linemen. We have had some fatalities from Hurricane Helene. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing to get our communities back on track, and we will be doing our part to make sure that we get the federal resources in place so that the state and our local localities can begin the process to recover. Thank you.
And I think it's also just important, we've certainly led this way at the state level, but when you're talking about whether it's USDA, some of the other things with federal, is the bureaucracy has got to work to get this stuff done as quickly as possible. And so much of this just gets ground down in bureaucracy and red tape, and ultimately, even if you do get the relief, it's not as effective. And so we believe in very quick action. We want to see all this stuff happen now. We know it was a major storm. We know there's damages. So just get it done. Look, if someone doesn't qualify, if you say that, then maybe we can figure out what other information that you need. But bottom line is, I think time is important. Time is of the essence, and we want to go and work very quickly. That's part of the reason why we do our trailer program, just because we can bring it quick. I mean, if you were going through FEMA, that would take, at a minimum, probably 6 weeks before you'd be able to get a travel trailer. The other thing I'll say, and hopefully there's not major impacts. We're monitoring additional weather that's down kind of where this storm Helene originally began. I think there's a 40% chance that something forms. Even if something forms, there's a chance it doesn't impact Florida, and even if it impacts Florida, there's a chance it could be maybe like a rainstorm. But I mean, it's not a 0% chance that there could be a more serious storm, and it could potentially impact our state in some way. So we're monitoring that. It's not something that you should get worried about per se, but it's just something you should keep an eye on. Just listen to the weather, monitor, listen to your local officials. If there's anything more we need to do, if we start to see something come, then we'll act appropriately. And I think it's better today than two days ago in terms of what the prognosis is, but you just don't know with these things. So just understand that's a possibility. But even if we just got a lot of rain in certain parts of the state, that will make an impact. I mean, it may not be a hurricane, but that will make an impact. So we're still in the season. There's still stuff brewing out there, and we just need everyone to just be mindful of that and make sure that if needed, you're taking the appropriate steps to protect yourself and to protect your family. Okay, with that, anybody have any questions? Yes.
Gabrielle Redford with the Dixie County Advocate. Thank you so much for being here, Governor DeSantis. Will you be asking for a special section of the legislature to deal with the rural communities and nature coast specific needs in response to this hurricane? Thank you.
We'll do whatever we need to be able to deliver the relief. Now, because it's Florida and we think ahead, we do a disaster preparedness fund every year. So we have money that we draw on. So I don't think I would need anytime soon any money per se. If there would need to be things that would need to be done, we could do it, and we may do it. So we'll see, but we'll do whatever we need to do. I know we're going to do things like the property tax. I mean, if you lost your home, you shouldn't pay property tax, right? I mean, you should get a break from that. And so there's definitely things. I can do some of that temporarily through executive order, but eventually we will need the legislature to do that completely. If there's other things that need to be done that we don't have authority for, we will get the legislature to do it. So we don't have plans to do it now because we haven't been presented with the need to do it now. But if there is a need, we will get it done like we always do and make sure we respond appropriately.
How long will these agencies be here? Similar setups in places like St. Max's?
You will see, right? So this type of response is really in the areas that got whacked the most. Not that there's not damage, because there's a lot of damage, like you go up and down the Gulf Coast, but the need for maybe a community that got 2 or 3 feet of water in the homes, that's serious, but that's basically rehabbing the homes. This is huge in terms of the impact. So wherever we have that type of damage, we'll have the agencies, and we'll see what the demand is for it. If there's a demand and they need to be here, they can be here for as long as necessary. My sense is on some of these things is you kind of figure out, you focus on the prep, then you rescue, and then you get into the stabilization. And then once you're in the stabilization, things. It's not like it's easy, but you kind of develop a rhythm. So we'll see what happens, but I think this is a good approach. It's not going to be only Horseshoe Beach, but the areas that were the hardest hit, we want to bring all the resources available. And again, this is not the federal, this is all state resources, the FEMA and all those issues as they stand up these disaster recovery centers where people can go apply for that. That's going to be done through folks that are working for the federal government. And, I hope that that's done efficiently, because I know if people qualify for individual assistance, they're in dire straits. They need to get it turned around quickly. So we're hoping that that'll be the case. But for us, we want to be here. We want to act quick for folks.
Christian with WPLG in Miami. We've seen the linemen, we've seen the crews moving very quickly to clear streets and put the power back on. I heard you earlier addressing some of the concerns from residents about the red tape. Also heard from them that they're pleased to see you here today, but we would have liked to have seen this earlier. Can you address or give people context of just what have been some of the obstacles, maybe the red tape, the difficulties in responding to the magnitude?
There's never been this set up this quickly in the history of Florida. So just be clear. Usually there would be nothing done for 5 days. Like the guidance for residents has always been you need 5 to 7 days after a storm hits before you're going to get help. So what was done, not only here but else, has been the quickest that it's ever been done. And I think that that's something that's good. So I'm pleased that people responded very quickly, and we'll continue to do it. We've cleared, someone asked me about setting up a temporary restaurant, was concerned about a permit. I did an executive order. We're not worried about these permits. In these situations, people need to be able to do what they need to do to be able to get back on their feet. So the red tape is going to be cleared away. Any of the permit stuff is going to be done. But that's why we have these agencies here to be able to do it. If you look what's already been set up, these points of distribution with the water and the food and the tarps and all this stuff, that used to be a day 5. If you got that, you were happy. We had pods set up, within 24 hours, 36 hours after this storm in the affected areas. And so it's been a very robust from the state response. Clearly, if you look at these other states, you look at like a Western North Carolina, they're not seeing the same response that we are. I think the federal government there may not be doing what they need. The reason why we're not as dependent on the feds is because we've taken the view that we should just lead, right? We should lead. They should give us, to give the individual assistance, have that bank account there for citizens who need to be able to qualify under federal law. But for us, all these different assets, we don't want to wait for the feds. And so we haven't done that. So when you see things like travel trailers here, just know I don't think FEMA's ever distributed travel trailers before a month or 6 weeks after a storm, ever. We have our own program where that is now going, and people are able to get a travel trailer. You heard the Congresswoman talk about these trailers that are en route immediately upon the request. So I think this is as fast as has been done in state's history. We did Ian fast, we did Idalia fast. This one's been faster, but of course, you learn different things that you can do. So that's how we're always putting it into practice. We've also done things I highlighted yesterday. We've been beating the drum about if you have critical infrastructure using these tiger dams to prevent water damage. So we are in Manatee County at their hospital. They tiger dammed some of the areas that had flooded in the past. No water damage as a result of the tiger dam. Police station in Tampa, very low-lying area, no water as a result of the tiger dam. That means these things are operational. They don't miss a beat. There were some other areas that didn't utilize that, and they did suffer some damage in those areas. And so that's an example of if there's another storm this season, I think more people are going to request it, and we want to be able to get it. And that tiger dam in Manatee County, it was requested, and the entire thing was on site within 3 hours of the request. I don't think you're going to find any quicker than that. In fact, it got there quicker than they could use it because they weren't expecting it to get there that quickly. So I appreciate everyone that's worked really hard. When you're repairing a 17-mile stretch of road in a matter of 48 hours, when you're dumping, massive amounts of sand on some of these roads, You look at the debris. This is a very difficult thing with the debris. But this debris, we're utilizing every resource. We've got low security inmates that are out there who do normal prison labor. Their Department of Corrections is bringing them to help with hurricane cleanup. So now they're out there cleaning up in the debris, which would cost us way more money if you had to do that through some of these private contractors. So all this stuff is being done, and we're proud. We're happy to be able to do it, and we're happy to bring this, right to an affected community like this.
One more question, Governor. In covering the aftermath of so many of these monster storms, this might be one of the first times that we're hearing from more and more people who are seriously asking themselves if it's worth rebuilding. What would be your advice to these people that are in a very tough situation? And is it worth taking another look at building codes and communities along the coast?
Well, so I think that's a personal decision. It depends on, what your insurance payment's going to be, what your income is, all these things. There's some people that want to rebuild, and they're looking at, how do they do it? There's some people that don't want to rebuild. They want to sell the property. I think that's an individual decision. But on the building codes, if you look, we were in Taylor County. The newer construction actually did well. Some of these communities, the charm is it's old Florida, but some of the buildings were a little older. I think what we found is when you build to Florida building code, those tend to handle these storms very well. That was the case in Hurricane Michael. That was the case in Hurricane Ian. You could see right next to each other, new construction, old construction. The new stayed, the old didn't. And so I am confident in Florida's building code. Now, it is a little bit more expensive to do that. I mean, there's a reason why things were built in the old times that were maybe not quite as sturdy, because it's just more cost effective to do that, but you then run the risk of having really catastrophic damage. And so I do think that people that rebuild to the specifications of the Florida Building Code, I think will be in good shape. I know they have local ordinances about how high you have to have everything. Certainly when we were in Keaton Beach, you got to have it up pretty high there because they know that they're susceptible to storm surge. And so when you had the concrete pilings and then some of those homes did well. What I saw, a lot of the older wooden pilings, when those were up, the surge just kind of knocked that out. So we have the best building code in the country. That was really spearheaded after Hurricane Andrew and the destruction that caused in southern Florida. But older buildings didn't have to be retrofitted because people couldn't have afforded that, and I understand that. But now going forward, as places rebuild, they are going to be rebuilt to specifications that are going to be more resilient in this. So how people decide to do, I think that's a personal decision about whether they want to do or not. If you live on the coast anywhere in Florida, we're a tropical state. There's going to be tropical weather it's been from time immemorial. It's going to continue to be the case. But there's also a lot of benefits for living in a very nice spot. And this is a very nice spot. And I know people have lived here for many generations and have enjoyed that. And so that's a very strong connection when you have something like that. And then I talk to folks who, they don't live here, but they come here and they have like a vacation spot. This is where they come to unwind from Georgia or some of these other states. So I think there's a variety of things that'll go into it. Okay, we are going to be serving some hot food. So if people want to get barbecue, we have Operation Barbecue here that's going to serve free meals. I'll be serving some. And basically the way that goes is when it's the governor serving, you tend to get pretty healthy portions. So if you're somebody that wants maybe a bigger sandwich, you better get in line now because I'm going to start serving. Thank you.